I lived on the top floor of my apartment. There was no one above me. That's what made the footsteps so terrifying.
I want to be clear before I start. This isn't a story I heard online. This is something that actually happened to me. A few years ago, I moved into an old apartment building for work. I worked late nights and I needed a place that was quiet. The building wasn't fancy, but it was clean. And most importantly, I lived on the top floor. There was no one above me. That was the reason I chose that apartment. For the first couple of weeks, everything was normal. Then, one night, around 1:40 in the morning, I was sitting at my desk working when I heard a sound above me. At first, I didn't think much of it. Old buildings make noise. I assumed it was pipes or the structure settling. But then I heard it again. This time, it didn't sound random. It sounded like footsteps, slow, heavy, like someone walking back and forth directly above my ceiling. I stood up and listened. My apartment was completely silent. The sound lasted a few seconds, and then stopped. I convinced myself I imagined it. The next night it happened again, almost at the exact same time. But this time it was worse. Along with the footsteps, I heard what sounded like something heavy being dragged across the ceiling. That's when I started feeling uneasy. The next morning I went to the building manager. I explained what I was hearing. He looked at me like it was nothing and said, "You're on the top floor. There's no one living above you." I asked him how that was possible considering the noise. He smiled and said, "Old building, happens all the time." I tried to believe him. The third night is the one I can't explain. At 2:12 a.m., the footsteps started again. This time they weren't continuous. Whoever or whatever it was seemed to stop, stand still, and then walk again, almost like pacing. Then the sound stopped completely, right above my bedroom. A second later, there was a loud, heavy thud. It shook the ceiling just enough to make my heart drop. I didn't wait. I called the police. When they arrived with the building manager, they decided to check the attic space above my apartment. I stood downstairs watching them climb up, already knowing something wasn't right. The attic was empty. No mattress, no bags, no signs that anyone had ever been there. But when one of the officers shined his flashlight across the floor, everything went quiet. There were footprints in the dust. Not just one set, several. The officer crouched down and said they looked fresh, like they had been made recently. I asked him where they led. They followed the prints carefully. They didn't go toward the attic door. They didn't go toward any opening. They stopped in the exact center of the ceiling. There was nowhere else for them to go. After a long pause, the officer said something I'll never forget. "There's no way down from here." I packed my things and left that apartment the same night. A week later, I learned something the building never told me. Years earlier, during a repair job, a worker had fallen and died inside the ceiling above my unit. According to the report, his body was never moved immediately. Ever since then, tenants on the top floor never stayed long. That was enough for me.